right. You're all welcome as we are trickling in gradually. So, all right. Okay. I think. Hello, Sarah. Yeah. Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to see you and to have you join us tonight. So this is the Ashpot Accelerator program for startups. So we like to keep to time actually. So I think about 5 persons are here. More of them might trickle in as we start. So
Okay.
guys, this is Sarah Odia Esquire, and she's really going to tell us more about herself. But she's a legal practitioner, very vast in advisory roles for startups, fundraising, and a whole lot of other things. She's been playing in the startup space, and she's based in Lagos. So she'll be taking us on the topic for legal requirement for startup operation in Nigeria and a whole lot of other things that she's going to be delivering to us. So this is really her area. And so without much further wasting of our time, I want to hand over to you, Sarah, so you can tell us more about yourself and go on. So at the end of the session, there might be questions from the participants, which I know you answer comfortably. Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Please confirm that my audio is good, please.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. First of all, I would like to apologize to anybody who finds my outfit inappropriate, but it's evening, so I decided to come to this conversation very casual.
Yeah.
And it is usually my choice when I have to speak to people that I like them to see my face because I think it adds a human element
Yeah.
to the things that I say. So, Sarah is my name. I'm a legal practitioner, as said. I specialize in startup advisory, intellectual property, fundraising due diligence, and everything compliance, from internal to external compliance. Um, I've worked with very interesting startups. I've worked with Get Equity. I've worked currently working with Vestra Pay and have consulted for companies like ARM, um, Techstars, a lot of companies basically. So I just want to kick right into what we have to talk about today, which is legal requirements for startups, especially when they want to, start their businesses. When I was briefed for this conversation, to happen, I heard that I would be required to talk about the Startup Act. So as a lightweight thing, I like to, get it out there that that's a very placebo legislation. I don't think any startup should be worried about the provisions in that legislation, especially currently, because although it's been passed, I think last year, there's not so much that has gone into enforcing that legislation. And I don't think that there's anything that's going to go into enforcing it in the next 2, 3 years. So right now, I think that there are many other legislations, especially if the company that people want to form is a financial technology company. I feel like there are many other more important legislations and more important questions and things that people would need to concern themselves about that is not the Startup Act. So in my going through um, the legal requirements, you would not hear me mention the Startup Act a lot. So I think I want to do this in a way that everybody be able to follow. And so I'm not going to just out of the blues talk about things. I'm going to talk about different requirements, especially from when they begin and how they progress. So when people have to consider legal requirements to start their company, or as we say in the technology space, I think anybody should consider is what area or what niche am I in? And niche can be very, very broad. You could be doing real estate, you could be doing financial technology, you could be doing, and inside financial technology is also very broad. You could be doing deposits, you could be doing lending, you could be doing credit. Like, there are boundless things that people could be doing in different departments of business. And it is important for people to niche down and know specifically what they're doing, because when you know what you're doing, you know how much compliance that you need, you know the regulators that are your core regulators, and you know who you have to do right by. So, for example, if I consider my business and I decide that I'm starting a mobile money deposit business, I know that um my core regulator is the CBN, but I also have to take cognizance of the Data Protection Bureau. I also have to take cognizance of the Consumer Protection Agency. So when you know where you are supposed to be, that's the first step to knowing what you should do and what you should not do. After knowing the business that you're in and what you aim to do, the next thing that people normally will say you need to do is to register your business. I do not agree with that. The next thing that you would need to do personally for me, it would depend on how many people are founding that business. If you are a single individual that's founding the business, all well and good, fine. You could go ahead to register your business, probably as a sole shareholder, or maybe you want to hold shares with somebody in your family, or maybe a trust, however you please. But if you are multiple founders, before you incorporate a company, there are conversations that need to be had. And the conversations would happen by way of a founders agreement. What kind of discussion should happen when a founders agreement is supposed to be drafted? First of all, who has what equity stake? That is a very important question, because in my experience, what founders do a lot. Please confirm that you can hear me. I'll randomly be asking at different points if my audio is still good.
Yeah, it's
So,
good, still good, perfect.
all right. So the first question would be, who gets what? So there's a misconception and a problem that I've seen when I'm consulting with clients, and they feel like because there are multiple founders, all they have to do is, let's say there are four founders, they should just divide shareholding by four, and everybody takes 25%, and the shareholding is given to them at the point of registration. I I never would advise that. That's wrong. And the reason is this. First of all, you can't give everybody the same shareholding. The first conversation that needs to happen is asking amongst yourself, what is everybody bringing into the business? Somebody may be coming into the business and bringing software experience, technology experience, basically, maybe a back-end developer or a front-end developer that would develop the initial product for the startup to run by, and then somebody is coming in with marketing experience. You cannot give the both of them the same equity, because at the formative part of the business, the person who is doing software is doing a whole lot more than the person that is doing marketing. And when a product does not exist, what are you marketing specifically? So if you give those two people the same equity, you give them the same equity in the arrangement, one person has been treated unfairly and another person is gaining from that transaction, basically. So usually there's a questionnaire that I share with my clients, questions that they need to, answer. So when everybody has decided who does more work, or who is going to give more labor or sweat equity to the transaction. The next question that needs to be asked is, how much money are we bringing in, or how much money are we willing to bring in? So at the start of your business, you can't just say you want to run on vibes and not have money in the company. There are certain things that need to happen in the business that money is going to be the facilitator of those things. Case in point, registering your company, getting your trademark, things of that nature, they cost money. So if you have multiple founders, it goes with reason to say that getting those funds is going to be shared among all the founders in that business. So there are certain times everybody would want to chip in the exact same amount, but there are other times that there are certain people that would not want to stake as much into the business as others. So that also needs to be a consideration when equity sharing is made. So it then means that there are two considerations. First consideration is how much labor or sweat equity are you bringing into the equation? Secondly, how much financial obligation are you also bringing into this obligation? There are people who will bring more finance into the system. All well and good. There's a way their equity should be arranged. There are people who are going to bring less money and more labor. Their equity also has to be balanced. And there are people that will bring the exact same amount of labor and financing to the system. That also needs to be considered. And the reason why you need to have these discussions and these considerations before you go on to register your business, if you register your business with, oh, everybody gets 20% or everybody gets 30%, you run the risk of when your business starts, you start to see this person does not deserve this shareholding that they were giving. And then you want to start going back, share purchase agreements, reallocations, and things of that nature. The bureaucracy in that is too much and unnecessary. It would have been easily avoided by having a first conversation amongst yourselves, the founders, to decide who gets what, who does what, and, basically how equity should be shared, right? So when that is done, that is not the end of it. The next thing that needs to be considered is how this equity that people are supposed to get is going to be given to them. Another mistake that I see startup founders making is after they've shared the equity and say, oh, you take 30%, this other person takes 20%, then next person takes 9%, and this person takes 8%. When they do that, at the point of registration, they give the entire shareholding to those people upfront. This is where that becomes a problem. In the course of your company or in the course of your business, if you started at 4 founders, I can assure you that after your first, second, third year, you will no longer be 4. You'll be at least 3 or 2. Because the thing that people have to remember is that human beings change. At some point, somebody will leave your foundership arrangement, and there may be, for some reason, you need to add an additional founder to replace the person that left. In that situation, if you're already giving shares to that person, and at the point that, oh, the person wants to leave, you cannot collect it back without their permission. They can decide to say, I don't want to work with this startup anymore, but that shares that you gave me, I'm holding on to it. It is my property. If the business succeeds, it continues to be my property. If the business fails, all well and good. I'm not giving those shares to anybody. And then you run the risk of doing work and giving shares to somebody who is no longer with the company and who is no longer doing the work. So in that case, what I usually advise, clients to do, 1 second, please. Oh, sorry, excuse me. In that case, what I usually advise clients to do is vest shareholding. When I say vest shareholding, what do I mean? If, let's say, myself, let me see, people that are here, I'm just going to use their names. Myself, Clinton, Daniel, and Emmanuel want to start a company. And we've agreed that because Emmanuel is bringing money and technology into the business, he should take 60% of the business. Then the rest, the other 3 of us, maybe one person takes 20, or the other person takes 10, 20, 10, and last person takes 10%, right? So I'm going to take the person who has 60%. When you are vesting somebody's shares, at the point where you've agreed that this person should take 60%, please, if this, I'm getting to the technical part of things.
Yeah.
If at any point you don't understand what I'm saying, you can take me back and I would explain again. 60%, right, for one person. It is never advisable to give 60% to the person at once. So you can vest the shareholding. When we say vest the shareholding, what we are basically telling you to do is share it into parts.
Okay.
During what I usually advise people to do is during the first year of business, nobody gets any shares. Just work for the company. After the first year, shareholding to be granted, not the entire shareholding, a percentage. Usually, my advice would be if the shareholding is large, break it into 5. And if the shareholding is manageable, break it into 4. So for somebody holding 60%, I would always advise that you break it into 5 places. So it means the person's shareholding will vest across 5 years, right? So after the person has worked for 1 year, give the person 12%. After the person works the second year, they get the second 12%, which makes their percentage then 24%. They work the third year, 36, work the fourth year, 48, and the fifth year, scoring 60. So what that does is at every point, people who are in the company are earning the shareholding that they're giving. It's not just given to them, and then if they change their mind or if something happens, they can just easily pull out. Every single piece of work that they do is rewarded as is for the work that is done. So let's go with the highest shareholding, the person who has 10%. I can also decide to share that 10% across 5 years. During the first year, you get nothing, but at the end of the first year, you get 2%. Next year, 4, 6, 8, 10, before you come into that, your full 10%. So the next question will then be, because the Corporate Affairs Commission actually specifies that all shares must be allocated at the point of registering a company. If we are vesting the shares, who then holds the shares? I always advise my clients to have a nominee. So when you have a nominee, usually your legal representation, you draft either a trust declaration or a nominee arrangement saying that that person will hold the shares in trust for the company. What does that mean? At every year that somebody's getting their share percentage, let's say let's use this company for instance. We said the first person is getting 60, so every year they get 12%. The second person is getting 20%. So every year they get 4%, 12 plus 4, 16. Then the rest are getting 10, right? So that's every year 2%, 2 plus 2 plus 2, that's 6. So 6 plus 4, 10, 10 plus 12, 22%. So it means that every year that these people work, that nominee stroke legal representation stroke trust personality would transfer 22%, but will not transfer the 22% to one person, would break it down into the shareholding and give it to these people. This is a really important step because then it protects the equity of the company. It makes sure that people are getting equity for work that they have done and not because they are undeserving, right? Okay, I'm seeing education for a question. Yeah. What's different? This is vesting agreement, vesting schedule is the exact same thing. I'm just breaking down what a vesting schedule means, basically. It's a vesting schedule. What is the schedule is deciding whether you want to use 4 years, 5 years, 2 years, or whatever. The time is the schedule. But when you vest shares, it means that you don't give it to the person at once. You have to break it down in bits. So I'm guessing everybody's understanding of that.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go on ahead. So the next thing that you have to consider is what kind of vesting do you want to happen? So again, from my experience, people can be doing their work, bare minimum of their work, because okay, they know that, oh, I need to stay here and do my work. And if I'm not doing it the way I'm supposed to do it, or rather, if I leave the company, I lose a percentage of my shareholding. Let me just chill, do whatever I feel like, and at the end of the day, I will still get the shares. You have an option to vest the shares based on performance, KPIs. So how that happens is at the end of every year for each position, let's say that those four founders, one of them was a software person, one of them was a maybe the CRO, Chief Revenue Officer, and then one person was the Chief Marketing Officer, and one person was the Chief Compliance Officer. So to use the KPI vesting method, what you would do is at the beginning of the arrangement, and I always advise that this be included in the founders agreement, there should be KPIs that they will be measured for success by inside the founders agreement. And at the end of every, fiscal year that you want to measure their performance, before you give them that equity, they need to meet the KPIs that you have laid down inside the founders agreement. So what you are assuring them is that the people that you are giving equity, you are giving them equity for stellar work that they have done, not bare minimum, which increases the standard of your business, basically. So the other arrangement is just giving it to them at the end of every year. You could do that, or you could tie it to performance. And I would always advise that people tie equity sharing to performance. The next thing that you need to consider after all that has been done, after all that has been settled, the next thing that you need to do would be to go on ahead and register your business. At that point in time, you're going to be deciding whether you want to give people the shares as a sub initio, or you also decide if you want to make a trustee hold it. So you register your company. And at this point of registration, another conversation needs to be had. Do you want to register your company in one jurisdiction, or you want to register your company across jurisdictions? So usually in Nigeria, especially in the startup space, you have companies that always want to diversify their registration. And in diversifying their registration, they always have a Nigerian company, and they also have a Delaware incorporated company, because most times for fundraising, investors would always like that companies have a Delaware organization. So at that point, you need to have a conversation with your fellow founders and basically ask yourselves, what are we doing? Are we having Delaware, or we're just sticking to Nigeria and just riding with Nigeria? And aside Delaware and Nigeria, people also go with the UK. I've heard people do Malta, British Virgin Islands is actually a point of discussion of the founders, especially when you consider taxation needs, compliance needs, and the planning thought process of the founders. If you want to register a company in another jurisdiction, the reason why you need to have this conversation before you register your companies, I've seen people who had this desire to do this, and they made the mistake to register their company with a shareholding of 10 million. Rather, they do the normal 1 million ordinary shares. That's not allowed, especially when you want to have a foreign company. So why does this happen? By Section 57 of the the Companies Act 2020, for you to do business in Nigeria, you need to have a company situated and registered in Nigeria. So if you have a Delaware Corp and you can't do business in Nigeria with just your Delaware Corp, you need to have that your Delaware Corp and your Nigerian company. So for compliance sakes, okay. All right. For compliance sake, the person who asked the question just asked the question as to a partnership. I'm getting there. Delaware, Nigeria, right? So there's a process by which you link those two businesses. And for you to link those two businesses, CAC mandates that you must have 10 million shares. Sometime in 2024, they tried to make it 100 million shares, but I don't think that thing is going to stand because um, unofficially, that's ridiculous. But what we know now and what we usually see in practice is you need to have 10 million shares and link those two companies together. Because if you want to keep them separate, when you want to do when you're trying to do fundraising and things of that nature, even regular compliance from, let's say, CBN or any Nigerian regulator, you're going to run into problems because they are always going to ask why those two companies, because one company is definitely the main company and the second company is the subsidiary. It's always going to be a problem that those two are left separate. So most times the Delaware entity is always the main business and the Nigerian company is the subsidiary. So the arrangement that usually that people have is having the Delaware company own 100% of the shares in the Nigerian company. And when people don't want to do 100% of the shares, majority shareholding, maybe a 51%, maybe, however, but usually majority shareholding, so that the Nigerian company is a subsidiary of the Delaware Incorporated Company. So the next thing that people have to, consider is trademark registration. I wouldn't just say trademarks, but intellectual property as a whole. I've noticed that in Nigeria specifically, people always don't take this seriously. And dare I say, it is one of the most important parts of your business. Your intellectual property is where your money is at. If you're not doing financial technology and you're not raking money from transactions, any other business that you're doing that is providing value, your intellectual property is your money. I'll give you two examples of why I say this. Every time people always try to say that intellectual property is too big and they don't understand how intellectual property is money. The singer Mariah Carey, every December, he makes $3 million. From what? A song. All I want for Christmas is you. From streaming, from I don't know, everything that has to do with the song promotion, streaming, whatever. She makes 3 million, not off her catalog, not of every project she has made, of one song. Imagine that, because I'm very sure that when she did that song, she was not an established artist. She was just starting up and she had not, become the mainstream artist that she is. Imagine at that point, she did not protect the copyright stroke intellectual property to that song. That money is not going to be going to her, because one thing people need to understand is that intellectual property many times wants to protect the creator, but needs the creator to be proactive. If you have, maybe you sang a song or you did something and you did not make any steps to register that thing and somebody else did it before you, that thing does not belong to you. It belongs to the person who registered first, because that's who the law recognizes. So it's why taking steps to protect intellectual property is very important. So aside giving the example of copyright, for businesses, I think the most important thing to businesses is their trademark. And the reason why I would always argue that your trademark is your money is because when somebody is buying a product from you, aside buying the commodity, they are also buying your reputation to sell. Because if they perceive that you are not a seller of integrity, or if they perceive that you're not somebody that can do that business, well, they're not going to buy it from you. Also, if you're providing a service, before somebody takes that service from you, or before somebody subscribes to the service that you're providing, they will also need to ascertain that this service I want to take from this person, the person must know how to do it. So then you then understand that what you are selling is not the product or is not the service. It is your brand that you are selling. Because that thing that you are selling, you're not the only one that is selling it. There are people that are selling it as well. Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, Mountain Dew, all of them sell soda. But the way Pepsi delivers their soda is not the way Coca-Cola delivers their soda. It's not the same way Mountain Dew delivers their soda. And all these companies, they differently are in billions grossing companies. Why? Because they are providing value. And that value that they are providing is very diverse. no matter how much you like Coke, you cannot say that one day you've not drank Pepsi, or you not say that one day you did not try Mountain Dew or Sprite or another, drink. Those are that company's trademark. And although I wouldn't say that's a big deal, industrial designs are also very important. And it's very important for businesses in the fashion space, in the anything creative, anything graphic, anything digital. Your intellectual design is also very important. An instance would be maybe you make you know I recently talked to a business that wants to be like a fashion startup. It wants to be the Shein of Nigeria, for lack of better words. So, but what they don't want to do is, do the fast fashion that Shein does. Basically, they want to have authentic designers that design their art, and then they sell it in the Nigeria market as ready to wear outfits. A company like that needs to take intellectual property very serious, because that's where a big bulk of their money is. Because if they do not take steps to protect the designs that they have, when you are mocked, because at the end of the day, for you to sell, you have to make your design public. So they could just put that design up on an Instagram or a Facebook, and because they are not protected, anybody can steal it and they would have no recourse. But if they have protection via industrial design, copyright, or trademark, what you need to do is send a cease and desist. If a cease and desist doesn't work, you make a claim. They pay you for, the amount of time that they have infringed your work, and the court bars them from further infringement of your work. And the good thing about intellectual property again is it makes investors have confidence in your business. Why do they have confidence in your business? Because if you are taking steps to register the intellectual property of your business, it means that you are perceiving that your business is bigger than you. Because at the end of the day, sometimes we don't live forever. Let's say somebody is doing something and they die. If they register an IP in the name of the company, there's continuity. But if nothing like that happens, it becomes free game. Anybody can just imagine the person who was Coca-Cola. When the person was alive, they did not protect the Coca-Cola brand. At the point of them dying, it will become something that everybody has access to and everybody uses. But now the proceeds, the business, everything from it stays within their family, and it's their family that controls the business because they took intellectual property serious. So investing in your intellectual property is investing in the success of your business. Especially if you're looking seriously, if you're looking at the potentials of your business. I would also always say that when I'm talking to founders, especially founders that come to me, oh, I want to raise money, I want to check if I'm ready. If you don't have any intellectual property protection, I'm just going to tell you off the bat that you're not serious. And no investor is going to listen to you. You're not protecting your business. You're not protecting the integrity of your business. You're not protecting the value of your business from competitors, and you want to raise money. Whose money do you want to throw away? So most times, it's just going to be assumed that you're not serious. And when it comes to fundraising, nobody will answer you. Sorry to say. So in saying that, after registering your company, the next thing that you need to do is, number one, your trademark registration. If your idea is novel, maybe you're working in the healthcare space and you're doing something that nobody has done before. And there's a business I'm working with currently, they're doing something with marijuana that nobody has done before. They had to get a patent to protect the idea and the marijuana related drug that they are creating. If you're working in the fashion space, you should get your industrial design to be serious about it. And generally, anybody that's doing business, your trademark is very important, because your trademark is the identity of your business and is what makes your business separate from other businesses. After your intellectual property has been sorted, the next thing you need to do is your SCUML certificate. So this, I've forgotten what it means, but I know it has something to do with money laundering. And it's a thing that the EFCC does. So basically, if you're not a financial businesses don't need SCMUL certificates because they are financial businesses. The CBN is their regulator and handles them. If you're doing a non-financial business, let's say you're in real estate, you're in hospitality, yeah, exactly. real estate, hospitality, however, what part of your business that you're doing, you need that certificate to show that your business is not an entity that is being used to launder money, basically. That's why you need to have the certificate. Um, Currently in Nigeria, it's a one-off certificate. You don't need to renew it. It doesn't expire. But in my personal opinion, it needs to have an expiration date and needs to be reassessed. But currently, it's not like that. When you get it, you have it. Um, it's important to have that document because many people feel like it's not important and you don't get it. EFCC will freeze your account, especially when you have a business account. And the funny thing is SCUML certificates is not easy to get. I think now they're trying to make it easier. They're going digital and they're trying to make it, accessible to people. Before, you had to make the application and they had to prepare the document. And after preparing the document, they had to ship it to you. If you didn't do it, and EFCC, because what EFCC does, they're very funny. They will block your business account, and sometimes they will block your personal accounts alongside. Just imagine you're not able to move money in your business account, and you're not able to move money in your personal account as well. And until you get the certificate, they're not going to unfreeze it. So you start having to run helter skelter. Sometimes it takes people, it takes them 2 months. But if you just do, I think it's not actually a very expensive certificate to get, honestly. So many times I actually think, well, anytime somebody comes to me and tells me that EFCC freezes my account because of that certificate, I'm always like, there's no way you should have let it get to that point. And if you had legal representation previously, or rather you had the compliance person and they did not tell you that that document was not part of your documents, then something very irresponsible is happening. So when you've gotten your SCUML certificate, then remember I said that the first thing that you needed to consider was whether is to know the department that you fall under, the niche of your business. If you're doing any other business, I don't think this part is really, no. If you're doing something that has to do with food, you still have stuff to do. But any other thing, there's no much regulation to do after. Yeah, there are some things to do, but I wouldn't say that they affect the integrity of the business that you're doing. But if you're doing a financial technology, doesn't have to be technology, basically, anything that has to do with finance, there's a lot more that you need to do. Usually, when people start their businesses, they cannot get a CBN license. A CBN license is really hard to come by. And the capital requirements for many, I think the capital requirement for the least CBN license is 100 million for a PSSP license. Share capital of 100 million. And for a payment solution providers, I think is 2 billion. Switching and processing, 2 billion. What's the other one? Payment terminal solution providers. That I think that one is 500 million. Super agents, 500 million. And what's the last one? I can't remember the last category of life. Mobile money operators, that's 2 billion as well. They are not easy to come by. So what I always advise clients that have businesses to do is to look out for the Central Bank of Nigeria regulatory sandbox. What that sandbox basically does for you is allow CBN to understand your business. And aside the CBN, also the Securities and Exchange Commission also has their own sandbox, especially for startups that are doing investment-related businesses. You can't do anything that's investment related without having a license. I think CBN is better there. CBN is just going to shut you down. FCC is going to prosecute you for it because it's straight up illegal by Section 87 of the. You can't say I'm just beginning, I'm just a startup and I just thought, let me get a customer base before I do it. You are not allowed to do it at all. It's a criminal offense and people are prosecuted for doing things like that. I think, what's the name of this company? Bamboo, they had issues with the SEC. I think they've gotten licensed now, but for a long time, the SEC had issues with them being unregistered. I think the did RiceVest have that issue? I'm not sure, but I know Bamboo had that back and forth with the SEC, and I think now everybody's happy and they're registered. So, lost my train of thought. Yeah, CBN, SEC, you need to have a license to function in most of the businesses, especially if you're a deposit taking business. You can't just take deposit from people and say that you're doing transaction and say you're doing payment. A lot of people who do it, but don't let them very unnecessary, very, very unnecessary. There's just a very, very important need for people to be smart. And how are you smart? CBN and SEC, 24/7 or throughout the year, their sandboxes are not open. I think they take applications 3 times a year. Best thing to do is be on the low, build, have a wait list, and whenever they open these application processes, apply and let them, because if you are in their sandbox, you can do anything you want without a license. Then you allow them understand your business, what you're doing, how you're doing it, and maybe at the end of the period that you're in the sandbox, next thing you can do is apply for your license, or maybe they can give you an extension of time to stay in the sandbox and be on license for a while, because you are literally under their control. When you're in their sandbox, it's as good as being licensed, because you do the monthly reports to them. They have to approve everything on your board or everything that goes through your business. So it's best to be in their sandbox instead of trying to do business without being registered. For any other regulatory agency, I can't say what they will do or what they won't do. But you see, CBN, SEC, very dangerous. It's not worth it. And people don't talk about the liability a lot, but it's actually a very serious liability doing business when you're not licensed. It's a criminal offense and you can't be prosecuted for it, especially from their enforcement departments. And I know that the CBN and the SEC both have enforcement departments. So when you're done with the hula baloo of registration and getting licenses from regulators, then you also have to consider reporting channels. I know that when you have CBN licenses, you do monthly reports. Usually for CBN, politically exposed people, monthly returns, money laundering reports. Anyways, CBN and SEC, I feel like they are the best regulatory, and FCCPC, those three, they're the best regulatory agencies in Nigeria. They're going to guide you on what the kind of reports that they need. They're always going to be in touch with you. They're always going to touch base with you on what they need. If they need clarification, they always reach out to you by mail. So they're very, very proactive. And you can actually ask them questions. Sometimes when you need clarification on certain issues, you can always send a message to their support emails, CBN and SEC. SEC is the fastest. They will always respond to you. I think they even have a call number that you can actually call them and ask questions, and somebody will definitely attend to you from the department by which you're asking the question. Or if you don't want to make a call to them, you can send them an email and they're very responsive. They would respond to your email. So when you're done with everything that needs to do with formation, your company needs to run. For your company to run, because I know startups are not very liquid and they're not cash heavy, I always advise founders to be strategic. And before I say what I say, don't go to ChatGPT and create an agreement from ChatGPT. It never ends well. I always see people saying that technology and AI is going to replace the law and lawyers and needing legal representation for transactions. Every time I see it, I laugh, because I maintain that human error is part of law. Without that human error and human understanding, you can never appreciate law, especially because cases are not calculation. You can use a precedent in 30 billion ways, and I don't know how smart intellectual intelligence is getting, but currently, I don't think they can do what lawyers do. So many times that I see founders or owners of businesses trying to draft agreements for themselves, I think the issue that they say that they have is that it's too expensive, especially when they're starting out, for them to get documents, right? So what I always do, especially when I'm talking to new founders, there is no agreement that you want to do that will not fall within an NDA, an employment agreement, and an SLA. Every agreement is under those three things. So if you want to save cost, and if you're sure that the businesses or the transactions that you're going to be doing are not a are not complex, are not, you know, things that you don't understand, talk to a lawyer. Tell them your kind of business, what you do, how you do your business. Let them give you a template non-disclosure agreement, a template service level agreement, and a template employment contract. I didn't say download one from the internet. It's not going to work the same way as somebody giving you a template, a draft that fits your business exactly, right? If you have those three documents, most of the contracts in your business, you can just fill in names, change the purpose of the business, and you honestly don't need, you know, a lawyer to draft each of them for you. Then maybe as you grow, get bigger, expand, a lawyer can look at your agreements. But if the transaction is complex, if it does not fall within the ambit of an SLA, also they can give you a template collaboration agreement, although I do advise, because no two collaborations are the same. They are always different, and there are many considerations that should be made, especially as to collaborations. I'm not going to add collaboration, it's too complex. An NDA, an employment contract, and an SLE. If you get those three drafts, you can go on with most of your business. You can do anything that you want to do. What else do I want to say? I think I've said most of what I want to say. Um, yeah. Oh, an important part of your business you also have to consider is data. The good news is when you're an early stage business, data is not really your concern, because you don't need to make reports to the Data Protection Bureau until you're processing, I think, over 1,000 customers. And at the start of your business, I don't see where you'll be processing more than 1,000 of your customers. But as your business grows, you have to keep it in mind, because one thing about that bureau is they're like EFCC. You don't know when they're coming. And when they come, when they want to hold you for non-compliance, their fines are always so huge. And one thing you don't want to do when you're doing your business is pay money for fine. Because I promise you, every single thing that whatever regulated needed you to do is always cheaper than the fine that they're going to fine you. So as much as you can, avoid fines. Then the last thing, yeah, that I wanted to talk about was taxation. As a company, aside you paying personal income tax, as a company, if you're providing services, value added tax, are you also going to pay company income tax if you are grossing more than 25 million annually? When you're starting out, I don't see where, except you're a financial technology company. Most financial technology companies, yes, will pay tax in their first year of business. But if you're not doing anything finance, I don't see where you are grossing more than 25 million annually. So you don't pay tax when you are asked to file that this is what I did in business, but you're not paying anything. Because you are not doing 25 million, please do not say, I'm not making up to 25 million, I'm not going to file anything. File. They are seeing it there that you're not making up to 25 million. They're not going to expect any payment from you. But you need to have it in your books that you filed for taxes on this particular year and that particular year. If you're not collecting VAT, please collect VAT from your clients, because the excuse of I'm not collecting VAT from my clients does not bar you from paying VAT. Worse off, if you're not collecting VAT from your clients, when the FIRS comes for you, you will pay it personally. So for every service, for anything that you're doing for any clients, charge VAT. And don't charge VAT and put it inside your pocket. Charge VAT and remit. Keep the receipts where you are charging VAT and remit what you charge to the FIRS. FIRS, of all the regulatory agencies, that's the one you should fear the most. When they come for, like, A CBN or an SEC, if you do not do what they ask you to do, they may say, oh, I'm fining you from this year to this year, but going forward, don't do this again. For FIRS, if you did not pay them money, even if it is from 10 years ago, every single amount, you will pay them and you will pay additions of fines. I've seen when they come for companies and companies have to rake out as much as 500 and I think the highest I've seen is 527 million in just arrears, not what they have been fined. So please don't play with FIRS. They will always come for their money. Many times they allow you, they leave you alone. They will not like for like 10, 12, 15 years. They will not answer you. You think you are smarter than them. You think you are wiser than them. But what you don't know is that they want that money to accrue. When it accrues and it becomes more than you can handle, and they come for their money, you are going to pay that money. And they can arrest you for tax evasion. They will remove the field, arrest you for tax evasion, and you go to prison because tax evasion is a crime. So tax is not something that you joke with. So I just remembered the last thing that I want to talk about is partnerships, and I think there was somebody that already put that in the comments. Strategic. As I said earlier, when it comes to licenses, it's not everybody that can rake out 2 billion to pay. Because aside having share capital of 2 billion, you're also going to pay. I think if you want to get a switch and processing license, you have to pay CBN 50 million non-refundable. And that 50 million that you are giving them, even if they deny you the license, they're not giving you that money back. The money is gone. You can't collect it back. So there's a need to be strategic, about things. And in that strategy, what it means basically is you have to partner with other businesses that have what you don't have. You have to leverage on what they have. So, for instance, I think it is a very, very common practice that companies that are not licensed, they partner with either Wema Bank, VFD Microfinance Bank, Providence Bank. They piggyback of their mobile money operator license. They get virtual accounts. They get card. I've also seen people who partner with people that have PSSP licenses or PSP licenses, piggyback off of them for, as I said, virtual accounts, card payments, internet banking, mobile payments, payment terminals, the POS, and things of that nature. So, aside financial technology, in other spaces of business, there may be a need for you to, partner with another business to get something you don't have. I'll give you an example. A bank, many times, will need to partner with a logistic business because these days, nobody goes to the bank to get ATM cards anymore. Customers are using their mobile apps to request them and they're being delivered. The bank cannot say let them buy delivery bike to deliver to everybody because bank most times are nationwide. How many will you buy? So usually what the banks will do is partner with a logistics business and they give them that service at a discounted price. Everybody wins. You could also have it. What other area can you have something like that? Or office spaces. Many startups in Nigeria, they don't have office space. So what they usually do is we have a Vibranium, Vibranium Valley? We have Workstation. Partner with them and get a physical address for your business that you can use for your emails, for your posts. There are different ways that people partner with each other, honestly. And you just need to be strategic about it. And the most important thing that you need, especially when you're entering these partnerships, is to have an ironclad collaboration agreement. Especially when the agreement you're entering into is a revenue sharing agreement. You can enter a collaboration agreement like the first one I just described, a bank and a logistics company. Yes, they can enter an agreement to do the business. But if there's no clause on how money should be paid and how often the money should be paid and the delay timelines, the bank can as well decide that they don't want to pay the logistics company for 6 months. The bank is getting value for the service provided. The logistics is not seeing any money. And at the end of that, they got the shorter end of the stick in the agreement because they were not, fully protected. So when you're creating, and that's why I earlier said the collaboration agreement is not something you can have a template for. It needs to be drafted for every specific transaction, right? I have one last thing that I didn't talk about, but I'm out of breath. I think. Do I still have time?
Yeah, maybe take 10 minutes more and round off. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Is another important thing I wanted to talk about. I'm just going to breeze through it. Fundraising, raising money as a startup. I'm not going to talk about how to raise money or where you need to raise money from. There's a lot of ways that you should be creative about that. What I want to speak to is the dilution of equity when you are fundraising. I've seen this thing happen a lot. Somebody wants to do pre-seed, seed. In the space of 1 year, they have done pre-seed, seed, series A, series B, series C, expansion, IPO. And they're not taking cognizance of how much shareholding that they have. When all is said and done, the 60% that they thought that they had, they have diluted themselves to the point that it's only 2% that they have. They don't know how they gave out that shareholding. They don't know how they cannot, account for where it went to, how it went to, where it went to, but they just know that they have been incredibly diluted and their shares are not what they what they calculated. So my advice to that is every single time, rather, when you start your company, if you're holding 100% shareholding as a sole shareholder, or maybe you have two or three co-founders, it is important that you guys sit down and even if you're not raising money from the start, create a fundraising plan. Cut your shares into two or cut your shares into three. Say, this is how much we should be left with. And this is how much you are willing to let go of for fundraising. Be generous with how much you want to let go for fundraising, being honest, because if your business does well and you have to continue raising capital, you need to give these investors shares, right? But always have a schedule that what I always advise is if you have 100%, put 25% aside that any investor that wants to come on board it's inside this 25% that they will collect their shareholding. How that helps you is there are certain investors that will come and tell you that you should give them 10% of your company for 1 million. Very, very, very fair if you're beginning, but if you're like a if you're like a seed company, that's ridiculous if you ask me. Especially if you're a financial technology company, that's very ridiculous. So having a fundraising plan and having a dilution plan is going to make you be able to keep track of how much your shares are being diluted, how much you still have, how much you are giving out. So for the sake of maybe somebody that does not understand what dilution means. So from my initial explanation, 60%, 20%, 10, 10, 10. That makes the entire 100%. If another shareholder wants to bring money into the business to get shares, you cannot give the person additional shares for the shares to become 100 and something percent. It has to remain 100%. To give that person, you need to take from everybody and give to that person. Let's say the 60% becomes 57, the 20% becomes 18, the 10%, maybe take 2% from each to give the person that is, taking the shares. That is what we call dilution. And for every single time that people are coming into the business, you will be diluted because you cannot keep the shares aside. CAC has said allocate everything when you incorporate your company. So that thing that you have at the beginning of your company, especially if you plan to have investors in the next 5-6 years of investors entering your business, it can never be the same. But if you have a fundraising plan, if you have a shareholders plan, you definitely always at every point see what you have and what you don't have. And there are ways that you calculate valuation when you're giving out those shares. There's the pre-money valuation, post-money valuation. I don't want to talk about that right now. But what I want to importantly talk about is how you give out money. Are you giving it out at a discount? Exactly. I'm talking about safe. What is safe? Simple agreement for future equity. That's basically what it is. What does it mean? I don't know what my company is valued out right now, but I want your money. Give me your money. I'll put it into my business. I would just have this agreement with you. When I know what my company is worth, then I will give you a percentage of shareholding that follows how much my company is worth. That's just what a safe is. And that's why when you see people having safes, you hear at a discount, um, capped at this particular thing. There's a last one. Discount, valuation cap, with MFN. There's a last one I'm forgetting. I'm trying to remember right now. But let me just explain the ones that I remember. If I'm giving it to you at a discount, let's say when you gave me 100 million, I was pre-seed. I don't know what my company is worth, but I need that your 100 million inside my company for my company to have some kind of valuation. Let's say I collected that 100 million from you, I put it into my business has grown, and another investor comes and they bring a deal of, I want to take 5% of your business and I will pay you $10 million for the 5%. It means that your company is valued at $10 million. It's not valued at $10 million. 5/100. I don't want to do the mathematics, but 5% of the money that they are giving you, the remaining 95%, add it to that 5% and you have a valuation. When you have a valuation, you'll be able to calculate how much of that, like that money that person gave you previously, the percentage of what your business is worth.
Yeah.
That's when you would know what it is. And if you say you are giving the person a discount at that point, let's say when you made the calculation, the person was supposed to take the amount of money was worth, let's say, 10%. You can just dash the person extra 2%. Let me give you this extra. And the person then has 12% on your cap table. If you have a valuation cap, what that means is, I'm giving you this money, but you that you are collecting the money, you are saying, I'm collecting your money, but whenever I find out what my company is worth, I cannot give you more than 10% of my company. Whether the valuation comes up to be higher or whether it's lower, I'm capping what I'm giving you by 10%. And that's the most you can collect. It can be under 10%, it can be under 5%, but it cannot be more than that 10% I cap it at. Right? So when you're doing a safe with an MFN, what it means is the percentage I'm collecting from you is not the only thing I'm taking from you. I want other things. And usually this is what most investors do. But they will hide under the guise of, they will make it look like the only thing that, they're getting from you is percentage. Don't be bamboozled. I've seen a situation where they gave someone okay, anyways, what an MFN means is most favorable nation. What it does is, after you have signed that safe, there's an additional document. That additional document is going to contain things that investor wants you to do to give them aside the equity you are giving them. The kinds of things you will see in an MFN is, I want to be the chairman of your board. In the next 2 rounds of fundraising you will do, I will not be there. Even if you are diluting everybody else, don't dilute me. You could also see, my son will become your chief technology officer in your startup. You will employ my son as your chief technology officer. You can also see something like, I will be the one to appoint the next non-independent director. There are many things that can happen. I will marry your co-founder. Anyways, I don't think an MFN is an additional document that contains additional rights or additional bonuses that the person wants to collect in addition to the equity that they're getting. Why you need to be careful is, when you are giving somebody too much equity, you have no business giving that person an MFN. Because many times, because the truth is, when you are new to fundraising, you need to understand that the investors that are giving you money, they have done that thing 100 billion times. You are doing it for the first time, so you are at an incredible advantage. You need to have somebody on your team who has done it as well and who can give you all the red flags of what them your chairman of your board and give them rights not to be diluted for 3 fundraisers. Why? Then the person would then have the person should just call and throw you a that to you. And because the maybe $500,000 they want to give you is entering your eye, you just want to sign money. You at that point you will not know that you are giving somebody 20% and a large stake of your business. At the point when it starts to materialize, you have signed the document, you have collected the person's money, you cannot get out of it. They have a large stake of your business. By the time you check how much of the shareholding you have, you see that you have or shareholder that you said you wanted to maintain. There's no way you can maintain it because you have given one person 20%. How much you now give to the many people that want to come on board? And usually a lot of people want to come on board. Fundraising, you have to be very careful. Many times, especially when it usually comes as it comes in different ways, but the most familiar way you will see it as is one investor telling you, I want to give you 300,000. I want to give it to you right now. And they will not put all these things in a term sheet, they will not put in an agreement. The Zoom call that you talk to them, they will tell you everything they want. They will now start talking about or send you a safe. They will also send the additional, you know, sign. And you sign something that's so draconian that you should not have signed. Always have somebody who understands fundraising and who has fundraised before at your side so that they don't take, also, while, juicy offers are one thing, if it's too good to be true, or rather then you need to be cautious because sometimes if it's too good to be true, maybe God is blessing you. But if it's too good to be true, look very well, open your eyes and ask what is the catch. If there's no catch, which usually there will not be, or which usually there always is, you will see the catch and you will have to ask yourself, am I willing to do this or not? Or you say, this thing is not worth it. I'm not going to take this, investors' money. And at that juncture, that's all I have to put out. I'm available to answer questions now.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Thank you so much. That was a great one. I wish I could just give you an applause and thank you so much. Yeah, John Bosco, your hand has been up for a long time. Can you take the mic? Let's hear what your question is.
Okay, good evening.
Yeah, good
Good
evening.
evening, ma'am.
Hi.
And thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Sam, for bringing Mrs. I mean, it's been expensive, to be honest. I wanted to the secret is that I wanted to type out a particular I wanted to, as I was listening, type out a particular software requirement specification to my team now, but I haven't done that. I was stuck with our secrets. Okay, so that has been wonderful and educative so far. So the thing is I have a vet percent in how many years? 4 years, right? So at the end of the day,
I think your voice is shaking. I don't know.
I can hear him.
Oh, you can hear him, Sarah.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, so what I meant was you vetted 8% share for your team, paying them off 2% for each year, right? So at the end of
Sorry,
I
every
think
single
four
member of
years,
your
which
team
is
has 8%.
no,
The
like
total is
maybe a
8%.
co-founder or yeah,
No,
exactly, a co-founder or Okay, like
Understand what
our
I'm
CTO.
saying? Does the person, all people have 2% each that makes up 8%, is what I'm trying to
Oh,
understand.
yeah, one person have 8%. Then
Okay.
we asked the person to bring on a couple of guys in the technical team, but all of them have 8%, headed by that one person, which is the chief technical officer,
So
right?
they have
So
8% each.
not ish,
So
just all of them
they
for
share
one. Yeah,
his for him. All of them share from that 8%.
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
That,
Okay, so we now said, okay, we're betting this 8% for 2 years ish. Now, after 4 years, the 8% elapses. What do we do after that 4 years? Okay, we repeat the process, like we start afresh after.
first things first.
Now,
Oh, you have another question. Go on, please. Sorry.
yeah, if when you talk about, that's where my concerns lies in, because that, that's where we've been food items marketplace people to buy food items for them, people who can afford the time to go to the market for themselves. So when they give us their money, we give our shopping agents, they go to the market, get food items for those shopping agents, and deliver to our clients. So what we're trying to do right now is to embed finance on our marketplace to make transactions under the around what you're saying about partnerships, which is still in the preliminary stages. So what what, what are those gas partnership with our partnership with our money point, all these licensing, the sandbox and stuff you
First of all, for your first question, I don't think what you did with the 8%, you should have done that. Because how do you vest 8% in a principal person that has the shareholding and who further diverges to people? How is it? It sounds very vague. What I would say,
yeah.
people that he's bringing in is with a private, transaction, separate it from your business. That would be. And then there's no point giving people another equity again. In 4 years of your business will already be making money now. You'll be able to pay salary then. The whole point of investing equity will not matter anymore. See, and maybe there'll be a arrangement or a profit sharing dividend declaration in 4 years, because your business will be by then doing some numbers, making some good money, and they will just take payment on the dividend of their shareholding or a salary. You don't need to bring out another shareholding for them to start vesting again. That's quite unnecessary. As for your second question, this is my advice to any, and I'm not talking as a lawyer here. I'm talking about someone who has big business. Every single time I hear somebody that has like a really good idea and they not see they want to put finance in it, why do you want to use your own hand and overcomplicate your business? When you started asking your question, I was going to say that you are in the sweet spot of business. Sending people to the market is something that many legislations have not considered. It's a very, very wonderful place to be in because you don't have any core regulator. You don't have anybody that you need to send any reports to. You don't have anybody that you need to do any kind of compliance with. The best you need to do is FIRS, CAC, and FCCPC. And probably, let's say, rarely food safety. A wonderful place to be in. You don't need a specific bank to do your business. If and let's say you want to have company accounts, and for company accounts, I know you can have sub accounts. Let's say you create 10, 12 sub accounts and name them. Money is transferred into that agent account. They go to the market, buy what they want to buy, and give the person. You don't need embedded finance. Because when you say you want to add finance, when you say you want to speak to go to speak to a Money Point, what does Money Point have? Money Point has a mobile, I think an MMO license. Is that no? They have a payment terminal license. They can't even give you the service that you want them to provide for you. Sir. What you need is who has banks mostly are the ones that have mobile money operator license. Yes, mobile money operator license. I don't. Does Money Point have that? I know that they have a payment license. I'm not sure. I have a license, but in my opinion, your business is good as it is. You don't need embedded finance in your business. I don't think it's going to make your business better. Like business better value. That's all you need. So if you put that embedded finance, you're going to whole lot money on compliance. You need to spend. Another thing I need to add to that is, I think I was going to say it at the beginning, but I didn't say it then. When you do a business that is not regulated a lot, trust me, you save a whole lot of money. And reports, pay this one this year, you pay that one, you pay this one, you pay this one. The money that you think that you are making from that embedded finance that you want to do, you are putting that money into compliance, because you will then need an internal compliance person. You then need legal. At CBN, they don't play. There are people that they will tell you that you must have on your board. You must have a chief revenue officer. You must have a chief information officer. You must have a chairman. You must have a non-executive. That money that you are adding embedded finance and that you are making, you are spending that money again, which is when you were saying what your business was, love your business. I was going to ask if the shopping agent used to buy fuel for people, because I've been asking since for people to have a delivery service for petrol, because I need it. And I know a lot of people, I think there are people on Twitter that do that thing like casually. They will say, send me your list, I'll go to the market for you. You pay me a fee and give you the money for the things you purchased. Even these people that left pay stack, those four, that's what they're doing with Go Lemon now. It's the exact thing you're in. If you want to take it a notch, you can do what people have started. Provided a tech platform, these people that are using Twitter, find a way to move them from Twitter to the service that you are providing. Let them use the platform you are providing to meet customers, and then they pay you a commission, and then they do the shopping for themselves. And all you need to do is sit back and enjoy money from your technology and leave the shopping for the people who want to do the market. I think that's what you're supposed to be thinking too. Leave finance alone. I promise you, there's nothing there. There's people that are there. If you have noticed, people that are doing deposit taking, before you know, they start selling recharge card and doing data. There's a reason why that thing is happening. The best place to be is the place that is not regulated. But if you are strongly resolved in wanting to do embedded finance, if you are working with Money Point, if you are using their license, you don't need to be in CBN's what's it called? You don't need to be part of their sandbox. If Money Point, you will just have them as your payment partner. You are doing your shopping, they enable you with payments. You guys have a way that revenue is shared, percentages, commission, however. And that works. And why I would not advise that? If you are using your own bank account, GTB and all that, you're not paying anybody commission and you're getting the exact same money. Why are you not bringing a partner finance person that will charge you commission on every transaction. And I promise you, they're going to charge as much as 2.5 or 3% on every transaction. Then see the fee that the bank will charge. Pay only that one if you are using your personal corporate account, and leave all those extra commission that Money Point will charge you. I feel like it's overcomplicating a simple thing, honestly.
So the thing is about fraudulent activities. We've waded into many proxies and realized that maybe when we start scaling, no shoppers running away with even with all the KYCs we have, shoppers running
There's a
away with
simple
the
solution to
money,
that.
even with insurance.
One word: escrow payments. There's no bank that does not provide escrow payments. A middleman holds the money. When the transaction is completed and evidence of transaction has been completed has happened, the escrow gives the money to whoever needs the money. Escrow exists exactly to prevent fraud. And if you are worried about fraud, maybe your corporate account is with GTB or your corporate account is with Providus. I know people who go to the bank, activate chargeback on your account. Not everybody has access to chargeback, but you can go to the bank and say, please, I'm in a customer-facing business and there's usually fraudulent transactions. I would like to account. And if somebody runs away with you, don't even need to disturb yourself. Just initiate, and the money will enter your account back on that whatever account that they are using. Even if it is a separate bank, it doesn't matter. Once you activate the chargeback, the bank, they know what to do, and they collect your money back. You don't need, and even if you're using Money Point, what does it solve? It doesn't solve anything. It doesn't prevent that fraud, honestly. The problem that you want to solve is still there. What you need to be thinking is how to include escrow into your business and how to liaise with the bank that you use to provide chargeback services to you. You don't need a Money Point partnership. I'm going to be honest.
Okay. All right. I think that's
Thank you.
That's my answer to your question.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. There's so many, like 2 more hands up. I don't know if we'll be able to take all, but I'm gonna give everybody just go straight to your question, please. We are running out of time already. It's unfortunate some of you came in very late. I told you this was going to be a very loaded session, and you can see for yourself. Okay, let me give Emmanuel. Emmanuel, can you just ask a question quickly?
No, I think mine has been answered.
Not you, the other Emmanuel.
Good evening, man.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening.
Okay, my question is, thank you very much for the entire section. It was very amazing. So my question is, my question is, for example, there are 4 founders. One has 40%, while the remaining 3 has 20% each. And you guys want to give an investor 10%. So how do you
One person 10%? How much is the person? First of all, how much is the investor giving you? Like, giving 10%.
It's an example. I'm just giving it as an example.
Sorry.
Okay.
All right, I was scared.
So how do you disburse the 10% among the 4 founders? Because they don't have equal shares.
It's pro rata. You take more from the 40%. There's a way, you fraction it. Let's say you are taking 1/4 if you are giving somebody 10%, there's a mathematics by which this is calculated, but it's almost my bedtime. I can't think of the mathematics, but let's say the mathematics was 1/16. You just 1/16 everybody, and what 1/16 gives you is what you dilute the person by. It's simple mathematics. For you to derive that 10%, you can do the fraction and the percentage. You will get what everybody is supposed to give accurately.
Right.
It's pro rata. It doesn't matter if everybody has the same or
Please, second question.
So. Yeah.
All right. Second question about, you talked about dilution of shares. is there possibility where dilution can go down to zero? Someone's shares can go down to zero.
Yeah, so yes, you can be diluted out of the business. Very, very possible. Because how dilution goes after 0.01, 0.001, 0.006, when you get to zero infinities, you don't have money in that company again. They have pushed you out of your own business. You can keep diluting to infinity. You will not have anything again. It's very, very possible. If you don't take cognizance of how much you are giving out, you will be kicked out of your own business.
And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you as well.
All right, Chukwudi, can you ask your question? I think the last one.
Okay, good evening. Sorry, I was a bit late to the meeting.
Good evening.
Sorry, Miss Sarah, where are you based?
Sarah.
I'm based in Lagos, but I'm always in Delta State as well. Because my parents live there.
My main question was, you were talking about partnership with MoneyPoint. Our business is UGR.net. We do local advertisements. So when people go to the website, they'll see advertisements in their area. But the thing is, we have a marketing strategy. We want to produce these QR code menus for the hotels and restaurants. But you were talking about partnering with the banks. I think that's what we need to do, just so people will feel comfortable with us to process the payments. So like when somebody goes out to eat, they'll scan the QR code with their banking app and they'll pay the merchant. But I'm having trouble, with my marketing. People don't know us. I haven't registered yet, but that's what we want to do. But I want to approach a bank to be like our big brother, to be like, okay, these guys are cool, these guys are safe. Maybe you can use their menu and you can process the payments with them. So I need a suggestion on how I can approach a bank, and even if it's a good idea to approach a bank to help us, get some name recognition.
Okay. So first of all, if you have done some groundwork, I would have suggested that you partner with a startup like yourself, because that would be the best. Because many times I see startups trying to partner with already established businesses, and many times they run into problems. And there's this horizontal partnership that can happen that's very valuable. But I understand what you want. You are trying to piggyback the integrity of another business, which is a whole other ballgame. So, number one, I don't think you will get the integrity that you're looking for with a bank. Because you said you're providing QR code services and menus, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So if that's what you're providing, I think your marketing team needs to start doing work with people in the food industry. They are the people that will give integrity to what you're doing. And it's going to be very, very easy to get the integrity that you're looking for. And I'll tell you why. Because when you have something that it is novel, it is easy for you to put that thing in people's faces. I'll give you an example. When Piggyvest came into the market, the reason why they are successful as they are now is because when they came in, nobody was there. There's nothing to compare them to. There's nothing to say, oh, Piggyvest. Now we have many different businesses that are doing what they are doing. But those businesses will always be in the shadow of Piggyvest. Because Nigerians, we call all soap Omo. We call all toothpaste. What's the name of Colgate. So the first person, the pioneer of any business in Nigeria, is on an advantage. So while you want to partner with a bank for integrity, which I agree with you is going to help you, I think there are specific banks that you should be looking to. Banks that encourage innovation. That will be your GTs, your Wema, your Providos. They will like that. And I think what you need to do is drop a proposal for them where you can show them how what you're doing is valuable to them as well, because it's marketing for them. If you ask me, it's free marketing and you are doing most of the work, but their name and their logo is going to be on what you're doing, right? So those kind of companies, the reason why I say approach them, look at the board of directors of a GT, a Providos, a Wema, new age banks, VFD, V-Money, what's the name of the other one? You could also go for established payment systems. You could do MoneyPoint. Just look for banks that their directors are relatively younger. those are the people that you get better responses from. Because the First Banks and the Fidelity Banks and the Zenith Banks, the Generation X people, they are very, very traditional, and you're most likely not going to get a response from them. There's YT Bank, that T Fashion Week, GT Food and Drinks. You can actually come from the avenue of GT Food and Drinks to enter them, since what you are doing is with QR codes and menu. I think they just successfully finished a GT, so you could have partnered with them with the QR codes. Because I went for the GT and it was so rowdy. I wish somebody had a curated menu and a way for me to, scan a barcode and see what everybody was providing. It would have made the experience entirely easy. You can provide them that solution. Usually providing solution is the best way you partner, because it makes you different from everybody else. Everybody else is just saying, partner with me so I can make money. But you are saying, I have seen a problem that you have. This is the problem. My solution can solve that problem for you. Let's do business together. They'll take you more seriously than the next person. So my response would be partner with banks that have a younger demographic in their decision-making team, but also you have a demographic of marketing that you can do with the food critics, the food bloggers, the food content creators, and anybody that has things to do with food, basically, that I think your marketing can, benefit from. Yeah,
So,
that's my response.
sorry to cut you off, but I wanted to maybe a more exact method of how to approach these people. Should I go to the office? Do I send them an email? Do I call the board of directors?
An email. They always have a marketing. They always have an email for proposals. That's the email you should move your proposals to. Because if you just want to, it's not feasible that you can just call the CEO. They have these channels. I think most of them use inquiries at or support at proposals at. They usually have these things. I'm sure maybe in their marketing department or in their new technology department, they have people that are specifically employed to take these requests and these proposals. So I'm thinking they're the best ones to get back to you on that. Just send the proposal and how you feel like the agreement will be mutually beneficial, and I very surely will respond to you. Yeah.
All right. Oh, thank you so much, Sarah. This is a 5-star presentation. Honestly, I'm sure everyone agrees with that, and we're so happy for
Thank you.
taking the trouble past your bedtime, and thank you so much. I know I was still.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, guys, this has been great. The session is also recorded, so I will try and make it available later on.
I like a copy as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'll send you one. I'll send you.
Thank
So,
you.
so Sarah is a legal practitioner. I'm sure she's also available for consultancy. So if you want to take some of this thing up on a more personal basis, yeah, I will discuss with her, possibly share her contact with you, so you can reach out to her. You can agree with me that she's a nice person to have at your corner as you are navigating the startup way. So I think we've come to the end of today's session. Thank you so much. If you have other things, we can still continue to collaborate on our Telegram channel. So thank you so much, everybody. Sarah, once again, thank you. This was awesome. And yeah, everybody, have a good night. See you next time. Thank you so much.
Good night, everyone. Happy to have connected. Bye.
Thank you, Sarah. Good night.